Welcome back to the Where Is Job podcast. This is Memphis X, and today we're going to talk about where the Western Conference stands after 3 days of free agency, where the Grizzlies roster stands as of right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Grizzlies' 3 free agent signings.
Where is Job?
Here is Morant turning on the burners. Oh my! Wow! What a ridiculous finish from Ja Morant.
Where is Job?
Morant down the lane, lays it up. It is! Holy cow! With 7/10 of a second, Ja Morant.
Where is Job?
Morant with a running start. Element! Oh, it dunks! Oh my goodness! Ja Morant.
Like every year, the Western Conference promises to be a bloodbath this season. It's going to be a real fun year to watch on League Pass. All the matchups, all the teams. Unfortunately, we have COVID going and we can't get to the games, but still to catch the games on TV would be something real good. The way I have the West stacking up right now, as far as the rankings go, I have the Lakers at number 1. The Lakers did lose Rondo today, today, to the Atlanta Hawks, but they lost Avery Bradley to the Miami Heat. But they brought in Marc Gasol, they kept Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, they brought in Wes Matthews, and they stole Montrezl Harrell from the Los Angeles Clippers. So I think the Lakers are even better. They're going to be deeper. I think the offense, and also, they brought in Dennis Schroeder also. So I think the offense between Schroeder and Trez is going to take a lot of pressure off of AD and LeBron, especially a lot of pressure off of them to play a lot of minutes during the regular season. They have sufficient depth, to counteract, the crazy season that we're going to have with the COVID scheduling. So I think they're going to be a lot better, and I think Marc Gasol gives them a good foundation defensively. He can start, and Trez can will probably play most of the minutes, and Trez can go after that 6-man. Trez and Dennis Schroeder can battle for that 6-man of the year trophy. At number 2, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers re-signed Marcus Morris. They brought in Serge Ibaka. They traded for Luke Kennard in a deal for Landry Shamet, and they re-signed Patrick Patterson. I feel like they're going to be a little bit better chemistry in the locker room. New coach. I think Ty Lue is a better coach. He's going to be a better coach for this team anyway, to me. Number 3, I have the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets re-signed Paul Millsap to a 1-year deal. Now, they did lose Jeremy Grant to free agency, but they brought in Jermichael Green, former Grizzly, to replace him. And they brought in a European point guard, Facundo Campazzo. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a 5'11", floor general. Should be off the bench. I don't know if he's going to replace Monty Morris or not. I don't know what they're doing with Monty Morris, but, that remains to be seen. At number 4, I have the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers kind of did a little overhaul on their roster. They were able to keep Carmelo Anthony. They brought back Enes Kanter, traded for Robert Covington, signed Harry Giles from Sacramento, and signed Derrick Jones Jr. from Miami Heat. And they re-signed Rodney Hood coming off Achilles tear. So I have them at number 4. Number 5, I have the Dallas Mavericks. And Dallas Mavericks did lose Seth Curry. They brought in a couple of rookies. They had a pretty good draft, real close to, as good as the Grizzlies draft for the picks that they had. They also signed Trey Burke, Willie Cauley-Stein and Wesley Wando. I would have Dallas a little bit higher, but I don't know the absolute status of when Kristaps Porzingis is going to be back with the team. Let's see. At 6, I have the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, of course, had their big trade for Chris Paul. They signed Jay Crowder to a free agent deal. They also brought in Damon Jones and re-signed Javon Carter. So the Suns should be doing pretty well this season. At number 7, I have the Utah Jazz. And I'm not going to even lie, having the Jazz at number 7, they probably should be higher, but I have them at number 7 because I want them to be at number 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, anywhere where the Grizz have a chance to get their pick this year. But I have them at number 7. They did bring back Derek Favors on a 3-year, $30 million deal, and they re-signed Jordan Clarkson. And I think that's about all they've done so far in free agency. At number 8, I have the Houston Rockets, and I'll have them here as long as they have James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I can't see them missing the playoffs. They brought in Christian Wood, also in a signing trade from Detroit, and they just signed Sterling Brown to a free agent contract. At number 9, I have the Golden State Warriors, and I'm not sure how much they're going to have a foot on the pedal this year, but, they could possibly make the playoffs. They could possibly miss the playoffs. That's why, I guess it's not so crazy that I have the Jazz at 7 because these teams are going to be real close. And a lot's going to depend on injuries and health and chemistry and how teams, deal with the COVID scheduling and the depth issues and all that kind of stuff. But I have the Warriors at number 9. They signed Brad Wanamaker. They traded for Kelly Oubre. Of course, they had the number 2 pick with James Wiseman. And they did sign Kent Bazemore. At 10, I have the Pelicans, who lost Jrue Holiday. They do have Steven Adams that replacing him. Not replacing him, but replacing Derek Favors. And I don't know. I guess they're going to let Lonzo have the reins to the team. So we're going to see how they go. I don't think they're going to be anything special this year. I think this is going to be a development year. And I think they're sneakily trying to get in on the 2021 draft too, like they should be. At number 11, I have the Grizz, and I'll talk about their free agent signings after this. Number 12, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves, of course, they have Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. Memphis. D'Angelo Russell. They re-signed Beasley. They re-signed Juancho, their power forward. And I think that's about it. I don't remember any other moves that they made. They might have made some other moves. Oh, they brought in Rubio also in a trade. So, yeah. Now, this is another team that I see. I see these teams basically, if depending on how Kristaps Porzingis, how long he's out, I see these teams from 5 to about 14 maybe, depending on, trades and all this stuff. I feel like these teams are going to be kind of in the same area within 5 to 10 games of each other, and it's going to depend on, like I said, injuries and all that. So at 13, I have the Sacramento Kings, who just signed De'Aaron Fox to a max contract and just got hit with the offer sheet for restricted free agent Bogdan Bogdanovic. So, don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. So that's pending. This ranking is expecting them to not match the offer and lose him to the Atlanta Hawks. They'd probably be a little bit higher if they, if they keep him. But they're running into a roster salary crunch. They have Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, and this would make their third big contract. And then they have the max deal with De'Aaron Fox coming online next year. So of course they can make some trades and all, but It just depends on which way they want to go. At 14, I have the San Antonio Spurs. They bring back Jakob Poeltl, signed with Eubanks also. They didn't really have much to do. They're basically rebuilding. They have the final years of LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. Don't know what they're going to do about them. I predicted they're going to be late season buyouts, but we'll see how that goes. And at number 15, this one won't change. I have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in the beginning stage of their process, and they are tearing it down, and they will be mostly going with young guys the whole season. So they will be probably the worst team in the West. It'll be hard for them to win games. But that's how I see the Western Conference. As you can see, I have the Grizz probably just missing out on the play-in game. And if things fall like this, you'll have the play-in game will be, the first one will be the Utah Jazz versus the Houston Rockets. And the 9-10 game will be the Golden State Warriors versus the New Orleans Pelicans. And that would be pretty exciting, I know a lot of people are very, very skeptical of the play-in game, especially long-term. But I like it. I think it's going to bring a lot of excitement. It's going to bring a lot, especially in the Western Conference. Well, actually, the Eastern Conference is kind of picking up too. I'm not going to even worry about the Eastern Conference till right before the season starts. But I just wanted to keep, kind of monitor where the Western Conference is and how I see the Grizzlies, because, this is going to be an important year for our development. Really counting on getting a good pick in the 2021 draft, and the draft is deep, so practically anywhere in the lottery you can get a player that can really, really help you. Drafts are drafts. The NBA drafts, never change. There are going to be some mistakes made in the top 10. So just like this year when we had Kyra Lewis fall to 13, I thought he should have been probably a top 5-ish pick. He fell. Tyrese Halliburton fell. It's always going to be people that fall in the draft, and you're going to have teams reach for players. You're going to have teams fall in love with players. So anywhere in the lottery, and I would probably be happy with the Grizzlies' position. But other than that, that's how I see the West at this time. Now, when it comes to the Grizzlies and free agency, everybody knows that the Grizzlies would have had a chance to be free agent players if they wouldn't have traded for Justice Winslow and Waiters from the Miami Heat. But they decided that basically Justice Winslow was going to be their free agent signing this year. And after looking at some of the contracts that were signed, I think that's a pretty good move. I think Justice Winslow is a sufficient, if he was healthy, he'd probably be a $20 million player in this free agency class. But hopefully he can get to be where he's healthy and can show exactly what he can do, and we don't have to worry about anything with him. But he has a $13 million player option for the 21-22 season. So if he doesn't get healthy, or if he doesn't work out, or the Grizzlies can always cut him. And cutting him and making a few little changes here and there, the Grizzlies can get close to max cap space in the summer of 2021, in the offseason for 2021. So they have a lot of flexibility, and the contracts that they signed, the free agent contracts that they signed this offseason shouldn't hinder them. They re-signed a bunch of young guys that were already on their roster, and they're looking to, build some continuity with the team and really focus in on developing this young roster. So the first contract that they signed was DeAnthony Melton. He was signed to a 4-year, $35 million contract. It's a straight contract. All 4 years are guaranteed, and it's a declining contract. The first year is going to be for about $9.9 million. The second year is going to be for $9.1 million. The third year is going to be $8.4 million, and the fourth year is going to be $7.6 million. So as you can see, the brunt of this contract is at the beginning. And if you watch DeAnthony Melton pre-bubble, he pretty much performed up to this contract already. Now, during the bubble, he had a rough time of it. I don't know what it was, but I'm not going to really hold that against him, because with the COVID situation, man, you don't know how people were reacting to it. If you guys remember, like when COVID first jumped off, and in the early days, especially when the bubble was being developed and talked about and agreed on, there was a lot of people that were kind of really uneasy about, the COVID situation. So we don't know how it affected him, how it affected his family, whatever. So I'm not going to really hold that against him. Also, the Grizzlies re-signed former two-way player John Conchar to a 4-year, $9 million contract. The first 2 years of that contract is for $2.25 million, and they're fully guaranteed. The last 2 years are for the same amount, and they're going to be at team options. So this is real close to the Hinkie special. The Hinkie special is where the first year is only guaranteed, and the other 3 years are team options, and it gives the team a lot of flexibility with them. So yeah, John Conchar, 4 years, $9 million. He's going to be on the main roster. Congratulations to him. We'll be getting Jitty for the next 2 years at least. And a third and final contract that the Grizzlies signed was Jontay Porter. You remember they brought him in late in the season. He wasn't fully healthy, so they brought him in last year to rehab him. And this was always kind of the idea that they were going with Jontay Porter, to bring him in last year. And since last year they didn't have any more of their mid-level exception left after signing Tyus Jones, that they couldn't, make his contract any longer. They had to sign him for the minimum plus a team option for, another year. They declined that team option and re-signed him for a 3-year, $6 million contract. The contract is $2 million per year. Only the first year is guaranteed. The second 2 years are team options. So, that gives them a lot of flexibility. And I know a lot of people aren't really familiar with Jontay Porter. If you know, that's Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets. That's his brother. He reclassified as a junior so he could go to college early and play with his brother. And, of course, Michael Porter ended up getting hurt. The whole Porter family has this weird injury history, really kind of sad. Even their sisters. But Michael Porter's been healthy, and he's paid dividends for the Denver Nuggets so far. And Jontay Porter, who was projected by NBA Draft Twitter to be a lottery pick when he was coming out healthy, and then he blew his knee out again. So it's been since 2018, I think, since he's played a game. So, we're going to see exactly where he is. Hopefully, he's been rehabbing. I think he worked out with the team during the bubble, if I'm not mistaken. They did have some footage of him working out with the team. So I think hopefully he'll be ready for training camp. And maybe he can, take advantage of the time where Jaren's going to be out for about the first month of the season, and he can maybe sneak into the rotation and get some minutes, and we can see exactly what Jontay Porter has to offer for the future. But you got to remember, this contract and even John Conchar's contract is not about this year. It's about the future, and hopefully, finding, as Chris Wallace used to say, finding lightning in the bottle and being able to develop some assets and players that can, help us on cheap contracts. And if we can get these guys in a rotation and where they can be effective parts of the rotation at such cheap prices, then that will give us some flexibility with, trading other guys with a little bit more expensive contracts, and maybe be able to make a bigger splash in free agency and bringing in some impact veterans or trading for some impact veterans in free agency. So as of now, that brings the Grizzlies to a roster of 20, and I'll break it down to you. We have Ja Morant, Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, Justice Winslow, Kyle Anderson, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, Jonas Valanciunas, Gorgie Jing, Desmond Bane, Xavier Tillman, DeAnthony Melton, John Conchar, Jonte Porter, Marco Guduric, Mario Hezonja, and we have Killian Tilly on a two-way, and we have Sean McDermott, who's also going to be on a two-way, and we have Jaleel Tripp, who's going to be on an Exhibit 10 contract, which means he's likely going to be playing for the Memphis Hustle this year. And, you know, along with Tilly and McDermott. So that gives us 20. With the two ways in Exhibit 10, that takes the main roster down to 17. And you can only carry 15, I think, going into the season. So that means that two players are going to have to be two roster spots are going to have to be cleared because all these contracts will be guaranteed. I expect Xavier Tillman to get probably a contract closer to what Jonte Porter got, and Desmond Bane to get the standard contract for the number 30 pick in the NBA draft. And actually, Xavier Tillman's contract might be identical to his. So what I expect them to either find a trade where they can do 3 for 1 or 4 for 2 to clear out the roster spaces. And I don't know exactly what kind of players they're looking for, what kind of player that they would be looking for, if they would be looking for expiring contracts or whatever. I think the most vulnerable players are Marco Guduric, Mario Hezonja, Kyle Anderson. Those are probably the players most likely to be dealt. These are the players that were brought over in trade. Marco hadn't really worked out. And Kyle Anderson, he was basically brought in by the previous, administration. So that's how I see it going right now. We're going to try to talk about, I don't know what I'm going to do podcast about next, but we're going to have something coming for you tomorrow. And until then, remember to rate, subscribe, comment, share this podcast with other Grizzly fans, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
It's just all hard. Grit, grind.
Hey, turn it up.